Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Redux What Ifs, and today I'm bringing you What If Danny Phantom was in Young Justice Season 1, Episode 2. Oh, this is just gonna be Part 2, labeled as Part 2. But yeah, without any further ado, man, we finna just hop right into this bitch. Now, if y'all remember where we left off, we pretty much left off, well, since I did since I did both parts into one episode 1 and 2, since they're technically the same episode. I don't know why they just didn't make that shit like an hour special or an hour premiere when it first happened, right? But it's pretty much Independence Day 1 and 2, after they get Connor out, destroy the Cadmus lab, and all that other stuff. That's pretty much what happens with that, right? So now we're going to open up with episode 3, but this is part 2, if y'all keep a track of it. So y'all already know which one this one. Welcome to Happy Harbor. That's episode 3 of season 1, right? So it opens up like in canon, right? Team enters their new headquarters. Red Tornado's gonna be their chaperone, as Batman said it was gonna be. They start checking. Pretty much what goes to canon, right? So after they get back from the mission, Batman tells them that they'll be actively doing recon, and if any missions come up, they'll let them go out on missions, right? So after that, Batman comes on the screen and tells them that Batman explains their independence under supervision, meaning that's the only reason why Red Tornado is there. They'll go on mission under supervision with Red Tornado, and that doesn't mean he's going to go out on missions with them, obviously. In canon, he does not. He lets them go, but you know what I mean, right? So that's when everybody was like, listening to what Batman said, and then that's when Batman also said that there's a new arrival, and he said that Martian Manhunter will introduce them. Well, let him introduce them. And so that's when Batman disappears, as usual, and that's when Miss Martian, that's when Miss Martian appears, right? So that's when they were like, oh, who is this? And then that's when Martian Manhunter introduces her as M'gann, his daughter, from Mars, and he thinks that it would be a great addition to have on a team. And then that's when Danny starts to freak out, because he never seen this, and mind you, all he's seen was ghosts. That's all he really knows, just ghosts. He never seen aliens, people with super speed or super strength or other aliens. This is just all new for him. So Danny's geeking out. He was like, wow, so there's really aliens on Mars? He was like, for the longest, I've only fought ghosts, sometimes humans, but I've really never experienced anything like this. And then that's when Robin comes up behind. Excuse me. That's when Robin comes behind and says, yep, this is pretty much our world and what we deal with. And then he was like, so we got somebody from Atlantis, a half alien and a Martian. That is so cool. And then that's when pretty much things go to canon for that, right? They go to canon, and M'gann tries to make cookies for the team, but it severely burns. But Danny saves the day using his cryo powers to fix it, sort of, kind of, not really. As that's when they what is it? So after that, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I probably need to watch it, but I'm going off of memory here. So after that, right, after what they did, they get an alert from a power plant, right? And this is where they have their first run-in with Mr. Twister, right? So like in canon, what is it? Like in canon, I keep saying that. Like in canon, Superboy just wants to charge in. Robin disappears, and Kid Flash, thinks quick on his feet, but not with his head. And that's where, things get to going bad as Superboy gets thrown back by Mr. Twister's tornadoes. So does Robin, and Kid Flash tries to use the tornado method that he could do, but his are child's play compared to a literal machine who could create vortexes like that. So that's when Danny steps in as he flies towards him, and then he was like, I dealt with somebody who could make tornadoes and control the weather. His name was Vortex. And he was like, Mr. Twister, kind of he was like, that sounds like a reject from a comic book. Wink, wink. DC comic, fourth wall breaking. Yeah, I kind of figured that one would kind of be fire, but I guess not. So that's when they decided to tend to the power plant first, as Danny distracts Mr. Twister, as Aqualad cools down the plant. Right, he cools down the plant. They pretty much work together on that front to get the civilians out and to make sure everybody's safe before they engage the battle. So Danny's over there using his ghost plasma rays as he's shooting them, and they're actually pushing Mr. Twister back, even though he's like a hunk of hard metal, still pushing him back, doing some damage. So he flies around. Excuse me. As Mr. Twister uses a vortex to try to swallow Danny in, but Danny uses his shield to take the brunt of the force as it swallows him whole. But then that's when Danny, swirls the energy around him and makes like a huge explosion, dispelling the Twisters. And he was like, and then that's when Mr. Twister said, so you are an interesting one. He was like, I've never fought somebody who could phase through things and turn and fly like some type of ghost. He was like, yeah. And that's when Danny was like, yeah, I got that before. Been there, done that. He was like, I have plenty of tricks up my sleeve. And then that's when he whispers to himself as he says, please don't mess up. Please don't mess up. As he clones himself into 4. And then that's when he said, if you thought one of me was pretty bad, how about you deal with 4 of me? And then that's when they all charge up this huge ball of energy and then blast him with it. Since the clouds are dark, right? Since he's summoning Twisters, all you see is like this big explosion with green light and green rays peeking through the clouds as Mr. Twister flies down, but then he catches himself as he screams, enough! And then that's when he makes like this huge tornado, and then that's when he generates lightning as well and shoots Danny with it. With Danny using his shield, he uses his shield, and then that's when he blasts that's when he takes the brunt of the lightning strike, right? He takes the brunt of it as he gets pushed back, right? And then that's when his shield begins to break, as he was like, this is going to hurt, as he gets shot by it and then shot towards the ground, which spread it to all the other Dannys, as it was like multiple lightning strikes, right? So all of them got pushed back into Danny, as as he fell, the other Danny fell into him, as all the energy that he expended when he cloned himself, since it like halves his power, it goes straight back to him as he gets back up. And he was like, you provided a good distraction, but now it's time for me to do what I need to do and to destroy you all permanently. And then that's when Danny said, I won't let you, as he uses his cryokinesis to dispel the huge tornado. As I really forgot how tornado science works. Hold on, let me look this up. We're gonna make this interactive as a motherfucker. We're gonna make this interactive. So let's see, hold on. How does tornadoes form? So severe supercell thunderstorms, when warm air moisture air rises, it meets cold air, dry air above, creating okay. So Danny was able to dispel the tornado the first time because he used all his cryo energy as he could which kind of drains him. We're gonna make this like he has it, but he has to use it. Like he could use it, but it drains him, and he has to like kind of recharge, if that makes sense. So that's what he does. As he was like, you may have bought them time, but the inevitable is coming. As that's when he shoots like this super lightning, and it strikes everybody, catching everybody off guard. And then that's when he uses a tornado and just disappears, as the whole team lays there with Danny being the only one who's slightly standing with his costume kind of ripped up. And then that's when everybody goes back. It's like a tactical retreat, sort of, kind of, not really, since they all got beaten. So they retreat back to the Mount Justice. As that's when Aqualad says that they need to work together because they can't allow this to happen again, because if it happens like that and we're not coordinated, somebody can get hurt, a civilian can get hurt, or worse, one of us can die. And then that's when everybody went silent. And then that's when Danny was the first one to speak up. He was like, I usually don't like when other people, tell me what to do, because I've been used to doing things on my own. And I have to say that Calder's right. We need to find a team leader who could coordinate and help us coordinate with each other. He said, I'm out. He said, I can't be a team leader. Not yet, at least. I have some leadership experiences, but I don't think I'm qualified for the job yet. I vote Calder. And he was like, and then that's when he said, and that's when Kid Flash was like, well, how come not me? I was like, then that's when Danny was like, cuz you think fast on your feet, but not in your head. Robin has the next potential to be the leader, but he's more of the Batman archetype, if that makes sense. He's too young right now. And then that's when he was like, Superboy, you're too hot-headed, and McGann, you're too soft. He was like, not in a bad way, but more of a compassion way, if that makes sense. And then that's when Calder said, I couldn't oddly agree with Danny. He is right. So that's when everybody agreed to make Calder the team leader, right? So after that, they basically get another alert, which Mr. Twister is tired of them at this point, right? He's tired of them at this point, right? So, like in canon, they are able to coordinate, and with Danny's superpowers, especially with his cryokinesis, he's able to pretty much dissipate Mr. Twister's tornado pretty easily, right? And he's pretty much able to phase through his attacks, as well as everything pretty much goes to canon with that part. So they fight Mr. Twister. Superboy is able to distract him long enough, as that's when Wally was able to make a tornado, and then using that tornado, Calder used water and electricity to make like a water sprout, if that makes sense, a water tornado sprout, as it sucked Mr. Twister in. And then as Mr. Twister was trying to get out, that's when Danny came with charging his cryokinesis up. As he said, you didn't read the news today, haven't you? The meteorologist said there was going to be a cold snap. As he charges his energy and dissipates it into like a slicing energy wave. And then that's when it hit Mr. Twister, as Mr. Twister flies straight down. But that's when Mr. Twister uses his lightning arc energy and then shoots Danny, which Danny flies back into a generator, as it causes a huge explosion due to like his ecto energy still swirling on him. And then that's when Aqualad was like, Danny, are you okay? And Danny was like, am I okay? Yeah. He was like, but getting shocked like that takes some time getting used to, a little bit. And so, sorry. Oh my gosh, why am I yawning so much? So that's when Danny stands back up, and then that's when they were able to beat that's when they were able to beat Mr. Twister. But as Mr. Twister was getting up, that's when Danny flies over, and then he says, "Not so fast." He said, "Not so fast there." He was like, "I get you're excited to make some tornadoes again, but we do not need that to happen." As Danny uses his intangibility powers, touches him, right, and then phases him in the ground, so that after he untouches him, he's like stuck between the ground and out the ground. So basically, Danny made him stuck into the ground. As that's when Danny also said, "I'm not taking no more chances either." As he gets ready to he's charging up. As he's ready to he has like this huge ball, right? This huge ball, not a huge ball, but like a medium-sized ecto energy ball. As he's ready to just nuke this man, and that's when Carter was like, "Danny, stop. We subdue. We don't kill. We are not executioners. We don't decide that. The justice system does." And then that's when Danny was like, "Calder, I know what I'm doing. If you couldn't tell this is a robot, then maybe you need your eyes checked." And then that's when he was like, "A robot?" And then that's when Danny transferred all that into one finger and then blast the face mask off as it was a robot. And then that's when Robin takes the chip. And then that's when the chip says T.O. Morrow. And y'all pretty much know who T.O. Morrow is. So after that, the team reports back what they heard from Batman, from what they gained from today's fight and battle, as they hack the chip. And then that's when Red Tornado knows who might have been behind this. As Batman says, we'll keep tabs open for now, but for now we're just gonna see this as a good job well done, I guess. Since Batman's being kind of like very hesitant for some odd reason, but he gonna give it he gonna give it what credit's due. So we're gonna end that episode off with that, as the team is able to confine and consolidate and actually have a good solid team leader, right? And now they're doing a whole mind link thing, which is still kind of freaky for Danny, because he never had anyone be in his mind or in his thoughts. Overshadowed, yeah, but in his thoughts, not really. As we are going to the next episode, which is Drop Zone, right? So you already know how this episode opens up with Bane testing his venom, as he uses his venom and then Cobra's new venom, which turns their test subject into a fucking monster. And you already know what happens. Bane gets the dog shit beaten out of him. Like, I don't know. I don't know what other way to explain this, but Bane gets the beats, bro. Like, it's not even funny, bro. Like, you will probably feel bad for Bane, not gonna hold you. Just a tiny bit. Chances are low, but never zero, because Bane gets the absolute shit stomped out of him, bro. But yeah, after that, that's when Batman says that they're going on their first actual mission, which is supposed to be low profile. Do not engage, only observe and report. And then after that, after what Batman told him what was happening at Santa, I think it's like Santa Prisa. I think that's how you pronounce the island. I could be fucking wrong, but after Batman says what island they're going to, that's when Danny said. So basically, what he's saying is sit there and not hit anyone unless told to. And then that's when Robin said he didn't say that. And he was like, well, that's my translation of it, so I guess that works. And then that's when Miss Martian introduces the bioship, as she said that she can turn it invisible, but she can't phase shift. And then that's when he's like, phase shift? And he was like, and that's when McGann was like, yeah, it's a ability of all Martians. They can read minds, they can turn invisible, and they can phase through solid objects. He was like, I could do that, see? And then that's when Danny goes intangible and sinks through the floor and then flies back up. And he was like, how come you can't do it? He was like, for Martians, that's when she said, for Martians, it's more of a ability that they have to train for. Like, they automatically have it, but they just have to train for it to, like, better themselves so they don't hurt themselves while doing it. And that's when Danny understood, right? So after that, the crew gets ready to go on board, and then that's when they go fly towards the island, and then that's when they basically get there, and then that's when they meet up with Bane, and that's when they were fighting some of Bane's goons. They begin to fight with Bane, trying to tell his minions to hold their don't engage yet, but they didn't listen. You know, they saw the enemy, and that's the same vice versa for them. They saw the enemy, and that's when they began to attack. And then that's when Danny caught Bane was trying to say hold on and wait, and then that's when Danny got in the middle of everybody, and then that's when he used like an innate ability as he charged up, and then used like a plasma ray, not like a destroying plasma ray, but more like a more like a force push ray, if that makes sense, as he forces him enough. And then that's when Bane said thank you, and he said, I know that excuse me, he said, I know we have our differences and me being a villain, but I need your help. And then that's when everybody was shocked that Bane is asking for them for help. And then that's when Aqualad said, what do you need help with? And then he said, Cobra, they took over my island and they turned my venom into something that shouldn't even be allowed, even by my standards. And then that's when Robin says, what do you mean? If they made your venom any better, wouldn't you want that? He was like, no, I wouldn't. Turns you into a monster, and they plan on selling that into the city. If that venom leaves this island, no telling how many people will get hurt. And then that's when Robin steps up even more. He was like, since when did you care about people? He was like, my venom is more safer than that. He was like, so what would you rather have on the streets? That or something that is easily able to be quitted instead of something that turns you into a monster? And then that's what Aqualad says, I would rather have no venom on the streets, or none of you had that possessed your venom, their Cobra venom. Who cares? Venom is venom. He said, but if that does get to the city and makes it worldwide, there's no telling what kind of damage that could do. And then he was like, so we'll hold a temporary truce for now. And then that's when they shake hands, and then that's when that's when Bane leads them to the basically leads them to the to where Cobra factory is having the venom there, as they're currently making more. And then that's when they all, you know, do their own thing, as Danny was like, yeah, they're doing it again, aren't they? And then that's when Calder was like, eventually we're gonna have to talk about this, but for now, just destroy as much venom as you can find. And then that's when Danny was like, that shouldn't be a problem, as Danny that's when Danny charged up his whole, you know, ecto energy ray, as he was really legit about to nuke the factory. As that's when Calder was like, Danny, wait, we don't want to draw too much attention to ourselves. And then as Danny was about to let it go, he was like, fine, I'll keep the explosions to the minimum, but grab any information you can though. And then that's when Calder gives a reassuring nod, and then that's when they both do their things. Robin hacks, as he's able to mind link with them, and even though they went off on their own, the teamwork's slowly starting to get together, as Danny's destroying stuff, fighting goons. Two of them tried to shoot at him, but he just phases through it, because, you know, that's more convenient. I mean, if you had Danny's powers, you'd probably be phasing through most things too, right? Right. So as he phased through things, that's when he made himself back into, you know, unintangible. And then that's when Sportsmaster kicks him from behind, and then that's when Danny flips over, and then he was like, "So who are you?" He was like, "Are you some kind of bodyguard ninja?" And then that's when Sportsmaster was like, "Surprisingly, you're close." And then I was like, "I have a knack for figuring out people's tropes, so if I'm close, I'll take it." And then that's when Danny shoots an ecto beam as Sportsmaster blocks it, but he wasn't expecting it to pack a punch or burn him, so he gets a blasted back, and he was like, "Interesting." And then that's when Sportsmaster takes like this little tiny thing out, which transforms into a spear, and then that's when he threw it at Danny at high speed, but Danny catches it with one hand. He was like, "Come on, bro, you're gonna have to do better than that." He was like, "Oh, that isn't any normal spear." He was like, "What do you mean?" And then that's when it explodes on him as Danny flies back. And Danny flies back, and then that's when Sportsmaster expects him to be kind of like either critically injured or dead, because that explosion is really nothing to play with. And that's when he was like, he was like, "Kids these days always quick to have their ego take control of them when they could do something, and never have their battle instincts honed in and actually understand that this is a life and death game." And then that's when Danny was like, "If I was any other normal person, you would have had me." And that's when he walks through the smoke, as you can see his body like, wiggling back together as it morphs back together, since he's in his ghost form. And he was like, "Funny, you almost had me there." And that's when he sinks into the ground. And then that's when Sportsmaster looks around like, "Where'd he go?" And then that's when Danny comes up with the meanest uppercut, right? He uppercuts him using, we'll say about 45% of his strength. That's still enough for him to fly up. And then that's when he grabs Sportsmaster by the back and then throws him into a carton fulls of we'll just say like it's like a box full of wooden crates of, we'll say styrofoam, for example, right, to hold the vials of cobra venom in it. So he throws him into a wooden crates of styrofoam, and then that's when Sportsmaster gets back up, and then that's when he runs towards Danny and tries to like hit him, but Danny just keeps going intangible or dodging. He was like, "Oh, miss. Oh, try again. Oh, you almost had me." And then that's when Danny floats back a little. He was like, "You know what?" He was like, "You know what? I'll make this a handicap. I will only use one hand, and if you can hit me, well, then that just means you hit me." And then that's when Sportsmaster takes out like 2 batons, and he was like, "Quit playing games." And then that's when he starts going crazy with the baton swinging, like up, down, left, right, and then Danny's dodging. And then that's when Danny was like, that's when he pretended to get hit, as he intangibilized. He made himself intangible. And then that's when he was like, "Oh, you almost had me." As that's when Sportsmaster looks down, and then that's when he see Danny have like this orb of ghost ray energy just condensed, and then that's when he blasts him away. And then that's when as he blasts him away, that's when he sees Connor struggling with the new with the recently injected cobra venom guy. I don't know his name, but he was giving Connor the beats. They were going back and forth. And then that's when Danny flew towards him, right? And then that's when Danny said, "Connor, jump." And then that's when he looked behind him and said, "Huh?" And then he jumped as Danny comes flying at a speed of 112 miles an hour. Not fast, but when you're like getting up there, that's a pretty good acceleration speed. And then flies straight in, double fist to that dude as he flies up. And then that's when Danny grabs Superboy as he swings him around. And then that's when Superboy uses double feet. Imagine this, right? Imagine if y'all watch Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo, y'all see how Robin double kneed that nigga? Imagine that, but a Kryptonian, half Kryptonian. Instead of the knees, it's just straight bare feet. Not bare feet, but he got the boots on, the work boots on, right? So bare feet just slamming into you, right? And then that's when it makes like this huge explosion, right? Huge explosion. Bare feet just slamming down into the ground, making this crater. And then that's when that's when Connor said, "Phantom, finish it." And then that's when he said, "My pleasure," as he comes streaking down in this green energy. And that's when he's like, "Take this." And then he stops, right? He stops, and then he lets all this green energy come down with his hands and blast him, making this huge crater as he melts. He kind of melts the pavement, the tarmac, right? He melts the tarmac around him as he traps him into the tarmac. Like, so basically he kind of got blasted, but at the same time subdued. And then that's when pretty much everything goes to canon with that, and they destroy the factory, right? They destroy the factory. They let off a signal for the Justice League to come, and then that's when they escape through the tunnel, right? And as they as they escape through the tunnel, that's when it was turned out that Bane betrayed him, so he would have less competition for the Venom. And then as he was saying that, that's when Aqualad telepathically said to Kid Flash to get a running head start, as Bane wasn't paying attention. He was distracted long enough because Calder was keep talking to him as he was like, "We trusted you." And then that's when he said he is a villain after all, as he was ready to press the detonator, right? But he realized that there was nothing in his hand. And then that's when McGann floated him up in the air. And then that's when he was like, "I don't need you to read my mind." He said, I don't need telepathy to say this. Drop him." And that's when Danny was like, "Wait, before you do, let's give him a he said, "Let's give him a Kryptonian ghost combo while we're at it." And then that's when Danny coats his hand in ecto energy. And then that's when they both saying using it, "McGann, drop him." And that's when they drop him. That's when she drops him, and then they give him the meanest uppercut, knocking him out. And then that's when pretty much everything goes to canon. Even though they were supposed to observe and report, Batman does give him a good job and a pat on the back for actually doing good, because that could have got bad and got out of hand. So after that that's when Batman acknowledges him as team leader, as Aqualad as team leader. And that's when he was like, he said, "You guys did good work today," right? So they return home, and they take the time off. And that's when he was like, "I'm glad that you guys are able to find some teamwork. Take the time off. You deserve it." So they retreat back to Mount Justice, as everybody was like, really, they really took the load off. Kid Flash got like a souvenir. McGann made some cookies, actually some decently good cookies this time, right? And that's when Aqualad was like, "So Phantom," he was like, "I noticed back in our Mr. Twister fight, you're able to clone yourself." He was like, "Yeah, it's a technique I've been working on." He was like, "I seen somebody else do it." He was like, "I seen somebody else do it, and it's been eating at me not to try it at least once or twice." He was like, "So while I'm able to do it," he was like, "it kind of halves my power." So it's a good trade-off if we're fighting in numbers, and you guys need numbers, but at the same time, it halves my power. So it's really not a good trade-off. But once I get the hang of it, I'm pretty sure I can handle the trade-off, and I'll still be as powerful as the original, right? He was like, "Want a clone is still as powerful. We'll say it's about 10% of me, but if I do 3 or 4, it's like 25% of my power." So I try not to do it unless I'm in the push come to shove position. But other than that, he was like, "I'm the only one strong Phantom." He was like, "I'm pretty much a one-man army." And then that's when they all laugh, and he was like, and then that's when Superboy said, "We're going to have to figure out what other powers you have." He was like, "That's all I have. I could walk through walls, disappear, and fly." are much more unique than the other average guys. Yeah, I had to throw the kind of intro in there, Danny Phantom. Duh. Why wouldn't I do that, man? So that's where we're gonna cut up to the sky, and then we're gonna leave. We're gonna fade to black, where Sportsmaster walks into a ominous room, as there's multiple heads, shapes, and sizes on the screen, as they ask one simple question: were you able to retrieve at least a sample of the Cobra Venom? And that's when Sportsmaster is able to hold up the vial, right? He swish around the vial, and then that's when he says the mission has been complete. He was like, now that we have that, we can move on to phase 2 of our plan. And then that's when Sportsmaster was like, as you wish, hail the light. He was like, as he was like, you are dismissed. The light will shine above all, and once the light comes, there won't be that's when we already know who that is, as he says, not even the Justice League will be able to stop the shine the light will have on the world. And that's when we fade to black. I appreciate y'all. We gonna kick it off with episode 4 on the next What If, right? So for these What Ifs, for Danny and the Young Justice What Ifs, I'm gonna do 2 episodes at a time and just leave them into parts. So this was episode 3. This was episode 3, I believe. 3. No. Yeah, I did 3 and 4. I'm confusing myself. My bad. So this is 3 or 4. So next episode, we're going to do 5 and 6. So we're going to do 5 and 6. I'm going to upload this. And then I'm going to drop What If Miles was in Spectacular Spider-Man, replacing Peter completely, right? Completely replacing Peter, right? And then I'm going to watch Craig of Creek and actually do What If Franklin Saint. What if Franklin Saint was in Craig of the Creek? This shit is going to be hilarious, because I've watched Snowfall, but I never watched Craig of the Creek. This nigga gonna say, I built this creek by creek. Bro, this shit is going to be so funny, bro. Niggas gonna be fighting over candy and chips, bro. Oh my gosh. I see the vision, bro. I really see the vision. So before I get into that, I have to watch Craig of the Creek to understand what's going on. So for now, I'm finna record this episode 2 for Miles, and then I'm gonna drop What If Goku was in Smallville. Honestly, I just need, what the fuck did Goku do, bro? Honestly, what powers and abilities would he even have? Because I would say the enhanced strength, speed, not on the fucking Clark factor, because Clark will still be relatively stronger than Goku for now until he gets those Zenkai boost in. But I really don't know how I'm gonna go about this, so I gotta figure that out. But for now, it's really just gonna be Miles, Spectacular Miles. I'm about to drop this after I upload this, and so after that, Spectacular Miles is on the lineup. I hope y'all gonna fuck with that. I honestly wonder how that's gonna do, because if that shit hits 1K in views and shit, oh my gosh, that will be fucking crazy. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate y'all for all the love and support y'all showing this Danny Phantom series. I did not expect it to go off and go crazy like that, so I hope y'all enjoy that. Make sure y'all smash the like button, comment, subscribe. Tell me what y'all want more, Danny wise or any What If wise. Give me some feedback. When it comes to Danny abilities, I would say that he's like a grade B tier, stronger than most of them. But if they work together, they could probably take Danny down. I'm making Danny a little bit overpowered because they really don't have no hard counters to Danny. Even Batman doesn't have contingency plans with Danny because he's kind of like a hard counter. I would say unless there's a way for him to take so much damage to the point he reverts back to his human form, but at the same time he's able to use some of his ghost abilities in his human form, so it's pretty much hard to have like a contingency plan for him. But we're gonna hold off on that. like I said, I appreciate y'all all for all the love and support y'all been showing me, man. I appreciate y'all going crazy for this Danny Phantom X Young Justice What If. And yeah, I will be uploading this soon. No, I'm uploading this now, actually. So while this is uploading, I will also be uploading Miles in the Spectacular Spider-Man universe, replacing Peter completely. And it's just going to be Miles. So I hope y'all fuck with that one. And no, before y'all say that, we're not going to do Miles how Insomniac did Miles. That suit was fucking atrocious. Hell nah, bro. This nigga's gonna be dripped. He gonna have drip in uniform and in costume and out of costume. In suit and out of suit. We already know what the first season suit is. So we're not even gonna fuck around with that. So and another thing, he's not gonna be fumbling baddies. Actually, yes he will, cause he gonna do that Uncle Aaron shit that he said. But most times he's not gonna fumble the baddies. So after this uploads, I'm gonna put a poll up to what season 1 girl y'all want him to be with, or y'all still want him to like juggle his options, so on and so forth. Ooh, or should I add Silk? Oh, I'm cooking. Y'all let me know what y'all want, man. I appreciate y'all for all the love and support. This is Redux What If signing out. And y'all just let me know what y'all want. So I will see y'all in the next What If, which is not gonna be, not too long, because I'm about to post this. And like I said, y'all going crazy with the subs and views. Keep it up. We're almost at 150 subscribers. We almost about to hit that 200 mark. And yeah, we still thugging on the phone. Once this laptop comes in, it's game over. We gonna do live What Ifs. We finna do live gameplays. I just got Ghost of Yote too, so it's pretty much up in the air, man. I appreciate y'all for all the love and support y'all been showing me so far. I appreciate y'all for fucking with me. We should back better than ever. Y'all saw it's 5 days. I'm not doing that 2-week hiatus and shit like I usually do. So all around, we just getting back into the grind, man. This is Redux What Ifs signing off. Until the next time. Peace.